Night arrives like a sentence you can't put down, short, sharp, with a punctuation that catches in your throat. The city breathes, exhales, settles into the ordinary things people mistake for safety. Windows latched, voices carrying across balconies, the soft mechanical whir of vending machines at the corner. Somewhere in that ordinary hum, an outline learns to read the negative space between human gestures. That outline learns the weight of a glance and the geometry of a turned back. It learns which doors creak when they're left to their own devices and which dogs bark only at particular kinds of footsteps. It loves the way people make themselves small in public, becoming slips of time easily folded into a pocket or a drawer. He was patient in the way weather is patient. He waited storms out. He learned that terror did not need thunder. It often only needed a seam, a loose hinge, an unlocked thought. He took to practicing small disappearances. A missing earring here, a misplaced glove there, a note tucked among pages that said only, "Remember." People told these things as if gossip. Those who retold them grew careful in how they laughed. His presence was a rumor that grew teeth. The first scene anyone told had no headline. It began with a woman watering succulents on a back stoop, humming a song she thought no one else knew. He watched from the shadow of a stoop light and timed the way she moved her shoulder when the wind came up, that he detested clumsiness, admired precision. He learned to bend his own movements into rhythms that people considered harmless, a prodigal shrug, a helpful step forward, a joking ask. He practiced the soft currency of offer and need. He practiced until the world paid him in small, unsuspecting openings. He kept lists. They were not the loud lists you imagine in movies, full of dates and triumphant crosses. His lists were meditative, small sketches of park benches with notes on which underside of the bench gathered the least light. A tally of street lamps with bulbs that dimmed at midnight. The names of songs buskers favored on the same corner every Friday. He wore a jacket that smelled faintly of lemon and old newspapers, and kept a notebook whose pages blinked into the ghosts of previous inkings. There was a vanity to the order. Order was soothing in a mind that otherwise watched disorder with hungry interest. Sometimes he staged things that, to an outsider, were nothing. He would drop a glove at a bus stop and then stand with his back to the crowd like a man who had forgotten. He learned to read the twitch of a shoulder when someone decided to pick it up. He learned which apologies would loosen a jaw and which curious brow would lead a person home later, thinking of a stranger who had been polite. He enjoyed the medium-length waits, the minutes between decision and action when fate felt like a choice you could bait. People began to speak of him in fragments. A black stone under a drainpipe, a child's spiral sketched in pencil left on a park seat, a painted shoelace trailing like punctuation on worn steps. Conspiracy forums took these trifles and stitched mythic shapes, giving him names more ornamental than real. The Watcher, the Tailor, the Shadow who left stones. He did not mind being named. Names give the public something to file away. They turn the frightening into a taxonomy. He liked that the taxonomy never captured the smallness of the things he did, the precision, the waiting. And then, in the middle of a long, cold autumn where the city's breath came in steam clouds from the gutters, the story turns, because stories must. He had always loved drama, but he loved it structured, a calm moment, an odd note, a reveal. The reveal he planted that season was, in the uncanny arithmetic of life, an identity long known to students of dark history. The name he carried in his pocket at last time slipped between pages and whispered itself into the public record. He was, in the way that would make late-night hosts lean forward and forums explode, Ted. When the name arrives, the air in the room tilts. People remember a face they once misfiled in the drawer of normality, a handsome, khaki-clad figure with a smile rehearsed for trust. He had the sort of face that made strangers step a little closer to help, to be neighborly, to answer a call for assistance. In the world beyond the dramatization, Ted Bundy was the paradox of charm and danger, a man whose outward civility folded into a predator's calculus. In the private theater of this story, the figure called Ted is both scaffold and shadow. We lean into him because we must understand how someone becomes a headline and how headlines become nightmares. Imagine him as he imagined himself, a man standing at the lip of social space, cataloging the small allowances people give one another. He read like an anthropologist of trust. He studied how a woman's fingers would hesitate when handed a parcel. He noted the particular way a man loosened his wallet when flattered. He practiced asking for help. A broken arm, a discarded stack of records, in the language people used to disarm suspicion. He became, to the untrained eye, a model of civic decency. That decency was a scaffold built to carry darker freight. Inside, in the parts no courtroom can fully enumerate, he kept a private theater of reasonings. He imagined his acts as experiments. He told himself he was studying choice, the split-second exchange where a person decides to trust or not trust. He told himself it was about power at scale, not pain for its own sake. He would rehearse dialogues in his head, calibrate the brightness of his eyes, test smiles in reflective surfaces. His empathy, where it existed, was instrumental, a tool to be deployed, a dial to be turned down or up to observe reaction. He was meticulous, because meticulousness made violence clinical and thus, in his mind, somehow justified. We will not linger in the lurid, gory corners. The real terror lies in the ordinary openings. He struck in homes, in study groups, in cars where the night had thinned into privacy. There are true accounts that tell us of evasion and escape, of sudden, brutal ruptures of the everyday. In those public records, procedures were learned and applied. Forensic techniques refined to trace hair, fibers, patterns. He escaped custody once, then again, as if the system itself were susceptible to his rehearsed ordinary. He moved across states, a nomad of bad faith, reinventing civility in new places and leaving sorrow in the wake like an unwanted harvest. In this dramatized telling, we imagine his inner world as a room full of mirrors. He rehearses a smile until he sees three versions of himself reflected back. The man other people will trust, the man who counts openings like currency, and the man who attempts to be seen as an artist of sorts, someone who believes cruelty can be ordered into meaning. In his journals, real and imagined, he writes epigrams that look like poetry, spirals, hinges, appointments. The spiral becomes a symbol, the hinge becomes a test. He delights in the small iconography because icons are portable and portable things travel easily between neighborhoods and across time. The symbol feeds the myth. Around him, institutions tighten their nets. Detectives grow thinner in the face, thicker in resolve. There are near arrests, a witness who remembers a scar, a clerk who notes a bright shoelace, a security camera that catches a silhouette that seems to match an old photograph. They converge in a ragged constellation, a geography of suspicion. The man who had been ordinary enough to be waved into trust is finally waved off, cornered in places that are banal, a laundromat, a library aisle. The truth is suddenly mundane. Cuffed hands, a pocketed notebook, a jacket with lemon and old newsprint in the folds. When shackled, he remains composed in a way the cameras capture and misinterpret. He speaks with a voice that is at times candid and at others carefully manufactured. He tells slightly different stories to slightly different audiences, confessions, denials, modalities of blame. The trial becomes theater. The theater becomes a mirror held up to a society that cannot look away. He squirms and preens, and sometimes, with cold clarity, describes his own actions as if calling roll for names of things. He is sentenced. The world breathes with relief. Yet the relief is brittle. Stories do not die with sentences. They metastasize into folklore, into podcasts that sway in the dark and late-night narrators who drink in the cadence of fear because their listeners demand to be startled awake. In the quiet hours we invent to make sense of him, we indulge fantasies. That there is a point where he felt remorse that cracked into forgiveness. That he saw his acts as necessary curiosity. That he was, beneath it all, as confused by himself as the rest of us are by our worst inclinations. Those are comforts. We are drawn to tidy arcs, to the idea that a monster may originate in a wound we can heal. The reality is less charitable. He is human and monstrous in a ratio we cannot easily calculate. He manipulates, he rehearses, he notices, he acts. He leaves traces, and we follow those traces like a cartographer mapping a coastline after a storm. And yet, even as the record closes in, the curious hunger does not. People click, scroll, rewind, debate, and claim. They want the exact calibration of the smile that broke trust. They want the map of places he touched. They want to stand with the detective who finally read the pattern and feel, for a moment, the righteousness of discovery. That hunger becomes a culture. the retelling of cruelty as entertainment. It is a dangerous economy. It trades in details and traffics in memory, sometimes at the expense of the people who mattered most, the vanished, the harmed, the survivors. So the city learns small, defensive skills. Pairs walk more often, lights stay on later, friends call before someone leaves. The painted stone under the drainpipe is taken up by curious teenagers and placed under glass by a museum with a plaque that says, "Remember." Podcast will spin its provenance into a ritual. Some will imitate the signature out of bravado. Copycats will chase the shape of notoriety into their own tragedies. The myth feeds itself and spins like the spiral the man used to sketch. In the end, what remains most unsettling, what keeps the viewer leaning toward the screen, thumb hovering over the play button for the next clip, is not simply the list of crimes, nor the courtroom's dry language, but the uncomfortable proximity of the ordinary to the monstrous. It is the understanding that a helpful hand can be a lever, that a smile practiced for civility may have been rehearsed precisely to break trust. That knowledge lodges like a splinter. You keep picking at it, hoping to make sense of what you cannot. And so you wait. You wait to be told the name, the precise ledger of acts, the manner in which a person who filed taxes and read newspapers and flirted at parties could also become a headline of horrors. You wait to know the face the public learned to fear. You click and replay and search and read, because human curiosity is both a safeguard and a vice. You want the story to end cleanly with a man behind glass and a sentence that folds everything neat. But stories rarely do. They leak into the margins of living and into the small habits people adopt to keep each other safe. If you want to know his name in the factual archive, you will find it, Ted Bundy. If you want to know the cold architecture of his crimes, the kidnapping, the evasion, the confessions, the trials, the escapes, you will read about them in court transcripts and news archives. If you want to imagine what the inside of his head sounded like, in that private theater of rehearsed smiles and cold experiments, you now have a dramatized sketch. A man who loved the control of choices, who found ritual in small signals, who used ordinary gestures as levers to pry open lives. And after the reveal, after the name is uttered and the courtroom records are listed and the dates fall into place, you will still feel that itch at the back of your neck. You will still wonder how many loose hinges there are in the world. You will still, perhaps, hesitate before you hand a stranger your trust. The city will keep its lights on a little longer, and someone else will pick up a stone and slide it under a drainpipe and watch to see what the world will do with such a thing.